Responsive relationships. You have been my friend. That in itself is a tremendous thing. This is a quote from Charlotte's Web, and like she tells us, sometimes the most important thing that we can do for a child is to make them feel valued. And this is why one of the key components to creating a positive, inclusive environment is creating relationships with children. I would like for you to watch this video, and while you're watching it, think about how each section makes you feel. If you're wondering what relationships have to do with inclusion, think about a job that you might have had in the past where you and your boss did not see eye to eye. Did you feel like you performed your best for that boss? Probably not. With children, they're really no different. If they don't feel like you care or that you don't like them, they're not going to do their best for you. And you know why? They don't feel their best. And if you compound this with expectations that are unrealistic, like we've talked about in other videos, we are setting ourselves and the children up for failure. Now, think about the people in this video that you have just watched. How did they improve the child's day? Our words are important. So there is an endless number of benefits for responsive relationships. Positive time, in this quote on the screen, is defined as chunks of time set aside specifically for positive interactions. That positive time is beneficial and important for all children, but it is especially important for struggling children, for children who have challenging behaviors. Positive time can both prevent and reduce challenging behavior. So we know the benefit. Let's talk about some practices that we can use. Responsive relationship practices include that planned positive attention. You want to make sure that this is happening in your classroom. Make observations about this. Observe yourself. Keep a tally chart of the positive things that you say to the negative. If it's not occurring, then maybe you need to plan it in your day, either as part of your lesson plan or just making sure that the other adult in the classroom and you hold each other accountable. Remember that there should be the 5-to-1 positive to negative. You also want to have supportive conversations. Supportive conversation, or at least 5 back and forth exchanges, and you want to be present. You want to listen, and you want to find topics that interest the child. Positive descriptive feedback is another way to build that responsive relationship. Describe what is going well. An example might sound like, I like the way you waited your turn to wash your hands. I know you were ready to get to the table to eat. I'm so proud you waited your turn. Children don't understand good job or way to go. We need to tell them what they are doing right and what it looks like to us. And remember, bids for attention, communication, and behavior are hand in hand. If a child is requesting attention, staff should give it to them, because when we don't give them the positive attention, it can quickly turn into a negative behavior. Now remember, this is different than a behavior management technique that might be in place for some children, and that is when you ignore the negative behaviors in order to extinguish it. So don't get those mixed up, but we want you to be aware that you should respect and respond to the request for attention. And as the slide says, if they request it, give it, or they will get it. So let's stop and think for a moment about what we're doing in the classroom. How are we interacting with our students? Which one are you reinforcing? Are you reinforcing positive behaviors or the negative behaviors? This and your actions are within your control. If you are only responding to the negatives, then that is what you are reinforcing, and those negative behaviors are the ones that will increase. So we want to observe and we want to watch this video. And as you watch it, I want you to think about the expectations that the teacher has for this child and the other peers at the table. And as you are watching and thinking about that, are her expectation the same for the child with the communication device as the peers that are at the table with him? Is the way that he communicates the same as the others in the class? Is communication really happening? Even though he is nonverbal, is the teacher expecting less from this student than from the others? What do you think could have happened if this child had no method of communication, either verbal or device, when he was wanting more spaghetti? Could you see how that could escalate into a negative behavior? So we've got some strategies to help. The first one is to look at your data analysis. Track the interaction data on struggling children. Are they getting their 5 to 1? Are they getting positive feedback? Is there a pattern to the adverse behaviors? Is it happening at a certain time or during a certain activity or when a certain peer is around them? Is it happening when you are moving from one activity to another that might not be a preferred activity? Making these kind of observations and looking for patterns is very, very valuable information, which can help determine what the cause for adverse behaviors are. And again, we want you to discuss what you see with another staff member. You can get ideas from each other, but really when you deal with that same behavior on a daily basis, it is easy to lose your objectivity. And so it sometimes does help to see from a different point of view. And again, this is why data is vital. What you perceive to be true and what the data says can be two different things. Gut feelings is not good data collection. Now take a moment and take a piece of paper, and this is a hot button activity, and this is a great way to share with your staff and with your partners in your classroom and find out what hot buttons children's behaviors really push in you. Some people have a really hard time when children don't look at them when they're speaking. Other people, like myself, I don't like to be spit on, and I don't like to be pinched. But when I know that these are behaviors that really get under my skin, and I know that I have a child who exhibits one of these behaviors, I know that I am aware of how I feel as an adult and what my responsibilities are to the child, and I respond accordingly. And sometimes you having your partner in your classroom uh, give you a break from those hot button activities and behaviors is a lifesaver. Feel free to use this and get to know your partners better. Strategy 2 is called a zone defense. You want to plan where the adults will be in the classroom. This is also excellent on the playground. Plan what adults will do. Have a clear plan for who will interact with children. What centers are you going to be interacting in? And understand the children that need those planned positive interactions. Be aware. Some programs have something similar to this in place. They've laid out a plan for who is in charge at a certain time of day, and you need to be prepared to help each other in the classroom. If there are children struggling with behavior, are they having the most difficulty in a certain time of day during a certain activity, or when a certain child is in the center with them? These are times when classroom staff members can intervene before a challenging behavior occurs. What we want is to be proactive before negativity, tempers, and high levels of stress occur. Distraction techniques work wonders. Plan to interact with certain children at certain times prior to the behavior. So looking at this schedule, let's think about how we could expand and go deeper in planning. During centers, we would specify each day which centers the para and the teacher will watch. It doesn't have to be the same every day. And if you're assigned to those areas and those centers, this is where you will be interacting with children. And know the children that need that positive interaction during this time. Which one need positive interactions prior to them having to seek negative? Give them positive reinforcements when they first arrive, and give those gentle reminders of expectations for the center, and move on. Check back frequently at the beginning, and hopefully you can fade some of this out further down the line. But don't stop, and don't stop too soon. Spending time up front until good habits are formed reap benefits later on. Individually prompt any children who struggle with transition after centers that are in your area. Help them be ready. Help them have successful transition. Encourage children clean so that they can tell you what is next on the schedule, and they're helping you plan for that next activity. Maybe a certain child can be asked to take something to the next activity, give them a job. Give them a job that requires cleaning up first before they can do it. Prompt the children who clean up quickly to help their friends so that everybody can move to the next activity together. And out of this all, allow time for conversation, positive feedback, and interaction. Be thoughtful and build times of day for interaction around times when certain children need it most. Even the most well-behaved child may struggle in the morning, after nap, or when they are hangry. So here are some ideas for making connections. If the links are hot, you can click on them, but if not, copy and paste the blue links into your browsers. There are some great resources here. Now take a time to look over the observation checklist. It is available on this link. These are the things that when you go in the classroom, or whenever we come in the classroom to see how responsive relationships are looking, that we will specifically be looking for, or that your supervisor will specifically be looking for. And now, complete your indicator self-assessment for Indicator 1. Thank you.